Did you know the spirit world is watching us all the time? Recording angels record everything we do. These recordings are the so-called Akashic records or chronicles of Akash. The thought is kind of scary, isn't it? But have you ever thought about what happens to your Akashic records when you use the vile flame on an ugly mistake you have made in your life? Would these records still be there forever? Or would they be gone? Why is this even important? In my last video series about the cosmic clock, you learned how you can change your future with the vile flame. But you know what? You can actually also change your past with the vile flame. And you don't even have to time travel. Let's find out how. With knowledge comes responsibility, and those who might be thinking about misusing God's great dispensations should definitely not do it. Why? More about that in a few minutes. The recording angels record everything you do, feel, think, and say. Once a day is over and all has been recorded, the angel hand over their recordings to the keeper of the scrolls. He's a cosmic being who is basically the big boss over all that has ever been recorded on Earth and in our individual worlds. He or his helpers are the ones that are being called to the karmic board to give an overview of a soul's past. The karmic board is a board of ascended beings who administer our karma. All souls appear before the karmic board after passing from each life for a life review. And that's where these records of our good and not so good deeds are read. They determine what the conditions for our next life will be. Alright, so far so good. You may have heard of the vile flame as a cosmic eraser. That's not just another fitting name for it, but there's a reason. The vile flame can transmute and erase the Akashic records of your bad deeds. The keeper of the scrolls says, "Fortunately, by the power of the sacred fire and the love of beloved Saint Germain, there has been established a special qualification of the cosmic law whereby those who use the vile flame faithfully have an erasing action that takes place on the scrolls. And through the action of the flame, their karma is removed almost as soon as it is created." To give you an everyday example, let's imagine that a long time ago, when you were not yet aware of the spirit world, you sometimes were somewhat of a mean person. You were bullying others and were just very nasty to some of the people around you. Now you've changed and you regret that you were such a bad person. You use the vile flame often to transmute these past events until you feel peaceful and move on to other topics you'd like to work on with the vile flame. Therefore, with the vile flame as your cosmic eraser, you have erased these events from your past. They do not exist anymore in your Akashic records. Why is it important though? Why should you care? Well, there are two reasons. The keeper of the scrolls says, "I do not gaze upon these scrolls unless I am specifically requested to do so by the karmic board. This occurs when an assessment of a live stream is desired in order to ascertain their opportunities or the need for temporarily lowering the karmic hammer upon them." So your Akashic records basically determine if you'll have the wind in your sails or if you really need a big hit by that unpopular karmic hammer. So this is a very important reason. At one point sooner or later, you really might have the longing of never ever having to reincarnate on Earth again and just being and staying in heaven. This is called making your ascension. You become one with your mighty I Am presence and just stay in the etheric dimension and don't have to incarnate on planet Earth again. This is the big dream of many of us, isn't it? Well, guess what? One of the requirements to ascend back to God for good is to balance at least 51% of your karma. And isn't the vile flame the greatest gift of our times, your best friend in achieving this goal? The more karma you erase from the Akashic records with the vile flame, the more the percentage of karma you've balanced goes up. Which is exactly what you want. After all, we're 100% responsible for all that we do and send out. You won't be free from this earth and its inhabitants if you have not balanced all of your karma. By the grace of God, through this gift of heaven, you can take care of the remaining 49% of your karma from heaven, even though that's not the best option. But that's a topic for another video. Now, a word of caution. As I mentioned earlier, some people might think now, wow, awesome. So basically I can really be a mean person or do this or that bad thing, and afterwards I simply use the violet flame and all will be gone. No record, no karma, awesome. However, that's not how the cosmic law works. God is not stupid. The keeper of the scroll says, I wish to point out to you, beloved ones, that each time there is a removal and transmutation of karma, a temporary record is made of it. If individuals will continually persist in repeating the same offenses against the great cosmic law over and over and over again, there comes a time when their actions are called to the attention of the lords of karma. Then a specific activity of the law is brought to bear upon the life stream, whereby all of their karma becomes accountable for balance. For it is absolutely necessary that mankind shall face their own human miscreations. Which means that if you won't listen to your conscience and do the right things, adversity will become your teacher. If you have not started yet, use the Violet Flame today. It does change your life, and now we know that it even changes your karmic records, which is a huge gift. Thanks for watching and have a great Violet Flame day.